Right, so today we've got the top 10 wrestlers who will never be in the WWE Hall of Fame. It's going to be a video that we're reacting to. If you'd like to support the original creator, click the top link in the description. If the algorithm or the sub box has brought you to me, that's it. We're hanging out for the next 15 minutes or so. Don't be weird. Let's do this. Me and you, we're spending time. We're bonding. If you want to react to content with us live on Twitch, you can click the bottom link in the description. Pull up. We're friendly here, sometimes. Young ones, get out of here. I don't make content for young ones. I use very colorful language when I react. I don't want to get you in trouble. That being said, now that the little ones are out of here, let's get into the video.
These 10 wrestlers have done more than enough to earn a spot in the WWE Hall of Fame. However, they will never be inducted, some for good reasons and others for petty ones. Number 10, Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam was ahead of his time in a lot of ways. Bigelow was a big guy, but despite that, he was still very agile in the ring. He could
Sometimes I'm like really confused as to like how certain guys aren't in the Hall of Fame already. I don't keep in touch with like the Hall of Fame entrance because sometimes I'll like look away and then it's like, oh, Ric Flair is being inducted again, and it's like, huh? Ignore chat. Chat is lying to you. I'm friendly. You should subscribe, or else I'll burn them.
Even perform high-flying moves that someone of his size should not have been able to do. Not only that, but Bigelow was also involved in several big storylines and rivalries during his time in WWE. He most famously main-evented WrestleMania 11, where he fought NFL football player Lawrence Taylor. Bigelow's career in WWE ended in 1995, but he continued to wrestle in ECW, WCW, and on the independent wrestling scene. Sadly, in 2007, Bam Bigelow was found dead in his home due to toxic levels of cocaine and other drugs in his body. While Bigelow wasn't the all-time
I did not know that we lost him like that. That sucks, man.
Greatest WWE wrestler, you would think that WWE would induct him into their Hall of Fame, especially given some of the people who they have inducted. So why haven't they? Well, reportedly
Snoop Dogg? I'm ignoring chat, and you should too. Don't read what they're saying. They're not saying anything relevant to the reaction. But like Snoop Dogg is in the Hall of Fame. Queen Charmel is in the Hall of Fame. It's like, oh, okay. Are the question? This is a genuine question. Like, are the Hardy Boys in yet? Like what? Also, I just read what's all this green there. The hell?
Bigelow was arrested for attempted kidnapping, robbery, and sexual assault, among other crimes, before his wrestling career. After his WWE career, Bigelow was charged with endangering a child through reckless driving, although the charges were later dropped. He was also
You gotta stop wrestling? I've seen fellas stop wrestling and then hop into another promotion and get to throwing each other on the floor. What the hell? You gotta stop wrestling in the WWE? Like, what? Huh?
Not paying child support by his ex-wife at one point. These might be the reasons why WWE hasn't inducted Bam Bam into the Hall of Fame. I put Bigelow at number 10 though, because allegedly WWE was considering inducting him in 2018. However, they had a change of plans, and so far, nothing has happened. While Bigelow likely did some awful things outside of the ring, it's worth mentioning that he saved 3 children from a house fire and suffered second-degree burns in doing so. While I can't say it's likely that Bam Bigelow will get inducted, he is a lot more likely than who we're gonna see towards the bottom of the list. With that, number 9, Miss Elizabeth. Wrestling fans of the 80s will remember Miss Elizabeth. The First Lady of Wrestling worked with her real-life husband, Macho Man Randy Savage, as a manager. Although she didn't wrestle, Elizabeth would be involved in a number of storylines, most famously the rivalry between Macho Man and Hulk
Miss
Hogan.
Elizabeth doing?
Even after leaving WWE, Miss Elizabeth would continue to be involved in the wrestling business while working for WCW. However, at the age of 42, the wrestling valet would sadly pass away. She was found unconscious in her home and rushed to a hospital, where she died. The cause of death was an accidental drug overdose from a combination of alcohol and painkillers. Despite WWE themselves calling Miss Elizabeth the First Lady of Wrestling, she hasn't been inducted into the Hall of Fame. There are no confirmed reasons, but there are a few theories. One is her death and the controversy around it. At the time of her death, Elizabeth was in a relationship with wrestler Lex Luger. It sadly wasn't a healthy partnership, as Luger
Oh shit, I forgot that they mentioned this in like one of the other videos. I think I just got to it, Mike. I think they just got to it. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Booker was arrested for hitting Elizabeth at one point. Another possible reason for Miss Elizabeth's absence is her family. Allegedly, Elizabeth's family blamed wrestling for her death and thus didn't want to see WWE or the wrestling business in general benefiting from her. In fact, it's reported that Miss Elizabeth's family banned or discouraged anyone from the wrestling business from attending her funeral. However, time does heal wounds. Years after her death, Elizabeth's family agreed to a Legends deal, which allowed WWE to start using her name and likeness on merchandise and other things. While it's not a requirement, WWE does lean towards inducting wrestlers who are under a Legends contract. All that's to say is that there is hope that Miss Elizabeth will one day be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Additionally, Miss Elizabeth never hated or spoke negatively about WWE, but this next wrestler did. Number 8, King Kong Bundy. Even if you've never heard of King Kong Bundy, you know with a name like that, he's a big boy. Bundy was most well known for his time in the 1980s, and while he didn't rise to the levels of Andre the Giant, Bundy was still a name. His most famous match happened at WrestleMania 2, when he fought Hulk Hogan in a steel cage match for the WWE Championship. Bundy sadly died in 2019, but the big man...
It looks like a thumb. That's not right. Whose thumb is like that? That's a big-ass thumb. He said he passed in, what, 2019? Dude, I lived a full-ass life. So far, they've been, like, older wrestlers are like, I definitely have passed.
has never been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Part of the reason may have been Bundy participating in a concussion lawsuit against WWE in 2016. However, there's a more likely story. In 2005,
don't listen to chat, though. They're gonna lie about
Legend Killer character, where he had beat up WWE legends.
Me locking you in a dungeon or something.
To bring back King Kong Bundy to be part of the storyline, so Tommy Dreamer, who was working for the company's talent relations, reached out. Bundy replied with a list of demands, saying, quote, "I need you to relay this message to WWE, especially to Vince McMahon. Number 1, you need to tell him that he needs to pay me the money that he owes me. Number 2, unless there's a creative idea for me winning the title, I have no interest in it because he promised me the title when I put over Hulk Hogan."
Oh, he really held on to that shit. I mean, he talking his shit though. I respect it. Standing on business like, nah, let me tell you something, brother. You told me I was gonna get the belt. I have not forgot about that shit. I'm coming back if you give me the belt. Could you imagine the fucking, like, fucking Legend Killer Red Yord era, King Kong Bundy title ship, the championship reign? Like, what? What is happening? What are you doing?
And he never delivered, so please go tell him to go F himself. This revealed a strained relationship Bundy had with WWE, especially Vince McMahon, which is likely the main reason that King Kong Bundy has never been inducted. However, with McMahon now gone from the company, maybe the door is open for a Hall of Fame induction. It's a bit more likely than seeing number 7, Jim Cornette. It seems like these days,
You gotta put respect on my man Corny. You gotta put respect on him. I wouldn't have even known how amazing Jim Cornette is if it wasn't for the fellas in the YouTube comments. Like, nah, you need to educate yourself, bitch. I was like, my bad. My bad. This is the man. This is the man. He talks his shit like no one else. He be saying to us, he does go crazy, but that's him. He's always been that way. I gotta respect somebody for being themselves. I have to. They even doing that shit.
Jim Cornette is more well known for his podcast than his time in wrestling. For those who don't know, Cornette worked both as an on-screen manager as well as a booker and promoter behind the scenes. He's considered one of the best minds in the wrestling business, but he's also famous for his temper. Cornette would yell at people backstage and even get physical. Jim Cornette infamously smacked Santino Marella backstage, which resulted in Cornette getting fired from WWE. Cornette's done well for himself as
Not the goats button heads, first of all. If you know me, you know I gotta protect Santino. That's my guy. That's a national treasure right there. You don't go slapping Santino. Also, on the flip side, how gangsta you gotta be to not be an active wrestler and still go up and slap a fucking wrestler? What are you doing? You are asking to get torn apart, bro. Santino was laughing at Boogeyman and Cornette slapping for not acting scared. Oh, was that back in like one of the developmental things? I think I remember that story. I think I do remember that story. I wouldn't have slapped him though, but that's definitely like a, yo, my man, you gotta, come on now. Boogeyman was something else though. That was a cool ass character.
A podcaster, but he regularly gets accused of making racist, sexist, and homophobic comments. Cornette doesn't help himself either when he vilifies modern wrestling and takes shots at WWE's current roster. These reasons are likely why WWE has not and will not induct Cornette into their Hall of Fame. Now, there are two things in Jim Cornette's favor. One is that he actually did appear at the Hall of Fame in 2017, where he inducted the Rock and Roll Express. Additionally, a much more likely path for Cornette is if WWE inducts the Midnight Express, the most famous and successful tag team Cornette managed. Still, due to him regularly getting himself into hot water, it'd be tough to see WWE want to touch Cornette. Now this next wrestler, WWE would likely induct in a heartbeat if they were allowed to, and that person is number 6, Owen Hart. Owen Hart.
Oh yeah, that's a rough one. Oh. Yeah, I know the family was not playing around about this shit. Rightfully so, too. Like, this is one of those wounds that I don't think time can heal. Yeah, I don't think time can heal that one.
Hart is arguably the most deserving person for a Hall of Fame induction. Hart was phenomenal in the ring and was one of the best, if not the best, on any show he was a part of. Adding to this, Owen Hart had a range as a character. He could be funny, like when he was in the Nation of Domination, or he could be serious, like during his rivalry with Bret Hart. Additionally, while a lot of great wrestlers are human trash behind the scenes, Owen Hart was the complete opposite. He was a loving family man with a wife and 2 young children. In fact, he wanted to retire early so he could spend more time with them. Sadly, Owen's tragic death during the 1999 Over the Edge pay-per-view prevented him from doing that. During the live broadcast, Owen Hart was performing a special entrance where he'd be lowered from the ceiling down into the ring. However, a malfunction with the equipment caused Owen to fall 78 feet and ultimately die. WWE did turn the following night's episode of Raw into a tribute to Hart, and if it were up to them, Owen would likely be in the Hall of Fame. However, Owen Hart's family hasn't agreed to it for this reason.
I would never allow for Owen to be recognized by a company that actually is responsible for his death.
I would never let WWE put his name on a piece of silver and say that they got that.
And I feel like they're perfectly justified in being this way, too. I definitely feel like they're perfectly justified in being this way. I can't even joke during the segment or nothing like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. This one is actually like 100% like, yeah, if the family is preventing it, then he's like bona fide legend for sure, but like, yeah.
Even without a Hall of Fame induction, Owen Hart's legacy is still celebrated. A non-profit was set up in his name, and AEW hosts an annual tournament named after him. Unfortunately, this next individual is more vilified than celebrated, and his name is, number 5, Jack Tunney. Newer fans probably don't know who this is.
I'm gonna say, who the fuck is that? Alright, let's see, who is Jack Tunney?
But fans from the Hulkamania era will remember this man well. Jack Tunney was the on-screen president of WWE, basically like a general manager. Whenever you saw Jack Tunney on screen, you knew the law was going to be laid down, whether it was stripping wrestlers of titles, banning managers from ringside.
I think it's the company that was specifying that they don't want to have a company that got him out, or like that was responsible for his death. Yeah.
Or whatever. However, despite being an iconic part of old school WWE, Tunney has been practically erased from history. The company never brings him up, and he's not even listed on WWE's alumni page. I guess they had to make room for Johnny Saint. So why is this? In addition to his on-screen role, Jack Tunney also ran and promoted many of WWE's shows in Canada during the 80s and 90s. One of the first allegations against Tunney is that he was taking more money from the shows than Vince McMahon felt he deserved. However, a more serious one is that Tunney actually used company money to pay off his gambling debt. Although people close to Tunney say
that's a fucking 80s shit to do, huh? Yo, the loan sharks is about to get me. Listen here, Vince. I'm spending this on the talent. Blavier really said I owe them $50,000. And fucking in today's money, that shit was like 600,000 or whatever. He's like, oh please, I'm getting back to you, bro, please. there's certain things in business that I think you shouldn't forgive. If someone steals from you in business, it's like, come on, bro. Like, he would strip the superstars of the title if they didn't defend them every 30 days. Back then, I guess the schedule for wrestling was like way different, huh? I'm not too sure when the live show circuits or like the house show circuit became like as consistent as it is now. I don't know anything about fucking 80s wrestling, so don't even let me get started on a tangent when I'm just looking stupid. I see you trying to get me.
That this is an excuse made up by the WWE, but this wasn't the worst of it. In the early 90s, a wrestler named Terry Garvin started working behind the scenes for WWE. He was openly gay and would give wrestlers and other employees jobs and promotions in exchange for sexual favors.
No. Oh, no. So you want that title? Suck this dick, Brad. Fro said, yo, come back here and get the stroking. Hit. Hey, you want to go over, right? Well, you got to get under me. Oh, no. Good. Oh, hell no. So get down on your knees. Bow down to the king. I'll stop.
If not, those individuals might be punished or even fired. Now, what does that have to do with Jack Tunney? Well, allegedly, Tunney witnessed Garvin harassing a referee, but ultimately did nothing about it. Apparently, Tunney was ready to back the referee in court, but WWE higher-ups ended up convincing him not to. There are some other reasons too, but those are the most likely reasons Jack Tunney's relationship with WWE went down the drain. In fact, when Jack Tunney died in 2004, WWE did not send a single representative to be present at his funeral, and didn't mention it on TV or even their website. That really says a lot, and it shows why President Tunney will never be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. This next wrestler, though, will never be inducted for just being downright evil, and that is number 4, Dynamite Kid. For those newer fans, Dynamite Kid is not a young fan of AEW's flagship show. Rather, Dynamite Kid is considered one of the most talented and influential wrestlers of the past 50 years. Wrestlers like Bret Hart, Daniel Bryan, and Chris Benoit were all inspired by him and helped shape their careers. So then, why hasn't Dynamite Kid been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame? Well, it all has to do with what Kid did outside of the ring. Dynamite Kid was very violent towards his wife. He reportedly locked her in cupboards, kicked her out of their home, and infamously threatened to kill her with a shotgun in front of
Honey. Oh, hell no. That's not... I think he was about to say in front of the kids. What the fuck?
their children. Additionally, Dynamite Kid allegedly abused and drugged his dog, as well as Jake Roberts' snake. With how insane and horrible of a human being Dynamite Kid was, it's safe to say WWE will never induct him into their Hall of Fame. Number 3, Alberto Del Rio.
My man, an asshole. Shit. I forgot he was on the thumb there. Yeah. Also, going after animals is definitely some fuck shit. That's grounds for termination. You're definitely not going to get away with that. I want to not hear anything. Am I frozen? I ain't fucking frozen.
Alberto Del Rio seemed like the next major Hispanic WWE star. He debuted in 2010, and within a year, he won the Royal Rumble and the WWE Championship. In total, he became a 4-time world champion during his career with WWE, in addition to a number of other
definitely heard he's an asshole.
Reports surfaced that Vince McMahon was personally a big supporter of Del Rio, which is one of the main reasons he was pushed so hard. However, a long series of bad decisions and controversies would ruin his career. It started about 4 years into Del Rio's WWE run, when Alberto Del Rio was fired in August 2014. The firing came after Del Rio got into an altercation with a WWE employee who allegedly made a racist joke. However, a year later, Alberto Del Rio returned to WWE, defeating John Cena and winning the United States Championship. Unfortunately for Alberto, his second run with the company was shorter than his first. In August 2016, Alberto was suspended for violating WWE's wellness policy. The suspension was supposed to only last 30 days, but ended up being permanent as WWE and Del Rio came to terms and he was released from his contract. Backstage, Del Rio was apparently upset with WWE, claiming he was given empty promises like a main event push that didn't happen. However, the real issues with Alberto Del Rio would come after he left the company. While in WWE, Del Rio began a relationship with fellow wrestler Paige. The two even got engaged when Paige proposed to Del Rio after a wrestling show. However, this was not a healthy relationship. The two had a very public breakup, with Paige accusing Del Rio of abusing her, even leading to a police investigation. However, Alberto also accused Paige of being abusive, and while Paige would admit her own faults, she still suffered emotional and physical abuse during their relationship. But this wasn't the end of Del Rio's story. In 2020, the former WWE champion was arrested after allegedly tying up a woman and abusing her.
If your mugshot ever looks like this, not gonna lie, by default, you did whatever you got arrested for. If you ever look this bugged out on your mugshot, you cannot contest you did that shit. Own up immediately. Come on, man. Come on, man. I wouldn't even want to hear this shit. Like, as soon as they said what the charges was, oh yeah, this motherfucker did that shit.
A grand jury would indict Del Rio, but ultimately, the charges were all dropped after the victim recanted her story. This doesn't necessarily mean that the original allegations were all false, and Alberto Del Rio has had a tough time rebuilding his career. Because of all this, it's impossible for WWE to bring back Alberto Del Rio, much less celebrate his career with a Hall of Fame induction. Now, the next person on this list is the reason there's a WWE Hall of Fame, but ironically, he'll never get to be a part of it, and that person is Number 2, Vince McMahon. Wrestling would look very different today without Vince McMahon, and a lot of
I didn't even think about that, huh? Joe Booth. Yeah, Vince cannot. Yeah, that's like a no-brainer, but I definitely didn't even think about that. He should have threw himself in the should have definitely threw himself in the bucket when he could. That's crazy.
stars like John Cena, The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Roman
So who the
Reigns
fuck
may have
is the
never
Rose
been
of Vince?
created. This makes McMahon more than deserving of a spot in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, whether or not Vince would ever accept a Hall of Fame induction into the company he created is debatable, but while the door used to be wide open, it's been closed and locked shut.
That
In
makes
mid-2022, allegations were made
Yeah,
public
I
that
forgot
Vince
about
McMahon
Benoit
paid
for like 3
millions of
seconds.
dollars to cover up sexual misconduct and affairs. McMahon retired following this, but ended up returning a few months later. However, the most damning allegations came in January 2024. A lawsuit was filed by a former WWE employee named Janelle Grant. She alleged that McMahon had sexually trafficked her and subjected her to extreme cruelty and degradation. Now, to be fair, these are all allegations at this point, but it's very hard to see a situation where Vince McMahon is welcomed back by WWE and the fans with open arms. WWE has distanced themselves from Vince McMahon, so it's a safe bet that the former chairman
had
will
to,
never
for
enter the
business
Hall
sake.
of
I'm
Fame.
sure they're taking
But
care
while
of him, like,
McMahon
behind the
still
scenes.
technically has a sliver of a chance, this next man has absolutely none. And number one is Chris Benoit. Despite arguably being the best in-ring wrestler of all time, there is no chance WWE will ever induct Benoit into their Hall of Fame after he killed his family and himself. However, did you know that Benoit has a son and daughter who are both alive today? To find out more, watch the video on screen.
That was like a super abrupt, I gotta get out of here. And why did that last entry take like a second? I mean, he said what needed to be said, but like, also, damn, I was not ready for the video to end like that. But if you guys like to support the original uploader of the content, please click the top link in the description. This was a pretty tight video. I rocked with it. I learned some stuff. There were a lot of like, I guess wrestlers before my time on here. There were like personalities before my time that I just didn't quite know of. Like, I don't go that deep in the crates when it comes to checking out the older stuff. But yeah, I guess Benoit don't really need... You've heard the story of Benoit a billion times by now, right? If you want to react to content with us live on Twitch, you know where to go. And if you don't know where to go, I don't know why I have this red ticker at the bottom of the screen telling you where to go. I guess I just did that for my own health, huh? It just did that for me? Did that for me? Down there, that red ticker down there that's telling you where to go? Huh? If you made it this far, why don't you click another video, huh? You ain't even subscribed or nothing. Look at you sitting there. You made it all the way here. You lasted at least 15 minutes and you didn't subscribe? Hurting my feelings, man. You're letting your family down. But family doesn't give up on family. Join the family. Subscribe. Join the family. Subscribe.